Welcome back, everybody, to this channel and to the year 2022. I hope you survived your New Year's parties, all of that stuff, partied safely, all of the good things. I did survive, barely. I was pretty safe, but I'm pretty fucking tired. Anyway, new year, new stuff. And, yeah, once again, thank you for sticking with me through 2021, and welcome to 2022. Let's see how well this all will go. I'll start tomorrow with, and this is why I'm talking to you right now, The Wheel of Fucking Time. It's been a long time coming. I've said it before, again and again. I want to go through all of those books and put my thoughts in order on it, and I'll be critical. So let's have a quick talk about the Wheel of Time and how I want to do this, and then you can go and get some more sleep, and I'll be back tomorrow with real Wheel of Time stuff. Alright? Cheers on that one. Alright, so I thought about what to do next, and I figured Wheel of Time is a good idea. Why is that? Well, it's probably the biggest, well-known, important, whatever, fantasy series out there that I have not yet read at least once in its entirety. Yes, there's also The Dark Tower, and I have never finished that one either, but I don't think it's... The Dark Tower doesn't have the same impact, or didn't have the same impact on, more like epic fantasy and whatnot that The Wheel of Time had. And yeah, Stormlight Archives are not yet finished, so I don't count them. Also, yeah, those are an entirely different kind of thing that we might want to talk about at some other point. However, Wheel of Time's been out there for a long time. I've been aware of it for a long time. I've tried to read it a bunch of times and never actually managed. So, way back, I read the first one, The Eye of the World, in German. And I found it okay-ish, I think. And then I started the second one, The Great Hunt, in German, and was bored after, 2 chapters, I have no idea, and dropped out of it. There may have been other things that made me drop and stop reading at the time, but that's sort of how I remember it. Remember, this is me. My brain is basically empty at this point, and I have no idea. So then, at some point, there was some Audible, special sale or whatever, and you could get, 3 books for, 2 credits or something like that kind of thing, and I started buying or spending Audible credits on Wheel of Time books, because in my mind I always said, yeah, I want to read this book. I have to read this. Everyone I know who has read it says you should read this. This is great. It has great characters. It's probably really good. And, pretty important. And then I started reading The Eye of the World. And I got fucking bored and angry. It really did not resonate with me, and I never went beyond that first novel. And here we are now. And why am I giving this a third try? Well, there's 2 or 3 reasons. Reason 1 is, I hate to not finish stuff. I hate to not know how things end. So I feel like I should read that thing just to get it over with. This is sort of the one reason why I'm doing this. The very personal reason why I'm doing this. There's obviously more, less petty reasons that I'll talk about now. And that is, I've said that before, the way I go about reading, or the way I go about most things, is that if I like something, I want to understand where it comes from. I want to, know what its influences were and so forth. That's for art in general, whether it's music or books or what have you, movies, whatever. I'm that kind of person that wants to dig deeper and go back and look at where that shit comes from. I don't know why, it's just how I'm wired. I've done this with music, wildlife, and you can hear a lot about that on my podcast with Will, the Headbangers Almanac. It's linked down below. We're like 5, 6 episodes in now, and we're slowly making our way through the history of hard rock and heavy metal, and we'll see where that goes. Point is, it's something that I've done there. It's something I've done with punk rock, the kind of things that I like. It's also something that I've always done with the kind of books I like, which is why I have read a ton of, your 1930s fantasy novels, your pulp fiction stuff, that kind of stuff. I went back and read Arthur Machen because I felt like it was a good idea to do that. It was, actually. So go and read some Arthur Machen if you haven't. It's really good stuff. Really good shit there. Point is, I've always done that. And I feel that when it comes to your Western-based, Western-oriented kind of fantasy, I have a fairly good grasp of the big players in the field. I've read Ted Williams. I've not read Thomas Covenant by Donaldson. That's like the other big thing that I want to do this year. But it's only 3 books that I feel like I really need to read. I tried reading Thomas Covenant when I was 15, and it definitely didn't work for me back then. I feel I might enjoy it better now. Might enjoy it actually now, or even at least understand what he's trying to do now. But the other big one has always been Wheel of Time. And whether I like that or not, the Wheel of Time has been hugely influential to fantasy literature by now, because, yeah, so many of you have actually read those books, and some of you have really enjoyed them. Some of you, after enjoying them, actually started to write books yourselves. It has had a huge impact on the genre of how we perceive fantasy and so forth. So I feel like if I want to understand where fantasy is now, I kind of need to look at that book, the series of books again. I mean, for fuck's sake, there's a TV show out now that some of you have probably watched. I will not watch that anytime soon, but it has made it to the next screen, so it will draw in more people that have not read the books, that will now look at that version of Wheel of Time, just like people that never read any George R. R. Martin then went and watched the Game of Thrones show. I think I've never done that either. Watched the show, that is. Read the book, of course. Point is, it's powerful, it's influential, and I want to know what it's all about, whether it is as bad as I remembered from my last reading of Eye of the World, which is the next part. Tastes change. People change. Reading ability changes, right? I am no longer the same person I was like a year ago. No longer the same person I was like 2 years ago. Also, my mood changes. All these kind of things may have had an, impact on why I got so angry from reading Eye of the World. So I figured maybe I'll understand it this time. Maybe I'll get it. I'll be blown away by the greatness that is Robert Jordan, by the greatness that may be Brandon Sanderson in the later novels, if I get that far. Maybe I'll just actually accept it, and I'll start praising Wheel of Time with all of these other booktubers out there. I don't think so, but I'll be open to it. So that's the other part. Maybe I'll actually get it this time. So that's the third reason for me to do this, and yeah, we'll see how all of those go. Now let's look at how I plan to do this. Yeah. I don't think I can do, or I want to do, as in-depth or torturously in-depth a rambly kind of thing as I did with Malazan last year. For a couple of reasons. One of them is, from my memory of Eye of the World at least, those chapters did not offer as much food for thought as all of the Malazan stuff, whether it's Erickson or Esselmont, does for me. There's obviously stuff that I can look at and go on tangents about, and I'll do that where I feel it's appropriate, but So I'll probably make videos about more than one chapter, more than two chapters, maybe three chapters. We'll see how much I can feel I can put into one video before it gets too torturously long, in that regard. So I feel I'll be done with those 14 books much quicker than I was done with, say, the first, like the main 10 Malazan books. I don't think reading all of Wheel of Time will take me longer, and like giving it a serious read will take me longer than until Easter. I mean, I can force it. I could probably just go and like blast through the entire thing in a month. I don't want to do that because I want to give it a fair treatment, but I don't think it will be as taxing as Malazan. So I don't want to do like, I don't think I will go into as much depth with Wheel of Time there. So that's the first thing. The other thing is the focus will shift. What do I mean by that? I want to look more at the writing and stuff and characters and shit like that. I don't want to. I mean, at least the first novel is not about themes. It very much isn't. So I want to look at the prose. I want to look at the characters, see where Robert Jordan draws his influence from, and how that stuff may then be read, like those things, those influences, and his specific take on those things may then be seen in more modern writers and stuff like that. That's sort of where I want to look with this, look on with this, because I feel it's important to see the impact. That's what I said before, why I want to read this. I want to see the damage Robert Jordan has done to fantasy, that in a positive or negative way. So that's where I want to look at. The other thing I would love to do is to do like once after like every book. So once after Eye of the World, The Great Hunt, whatever comes after that, if I'm still around at that point, I would love to do a collab video. I would love to do something like when Mike on Mike's Book Reviews did that for his Malazan stuff, and sadly he said that it will stop it, do like a veteran talk. I would love to do something like that, because I think, like, I'll be critical and stuff, but I would love to have someone who has read the book before, who is a fan of those books. Someone like that to actually talk to about it, and not just like rage all over it. That would be really fun to do. So I hope I'll find someone who wants to do that. If you're a booktuber, or even if you're not a booktuber but would like to actually do a collab video or like whatever, like a conversation video with me on any of those Wheel of Time books, hit me up. I'd love to do that. Otherwise, I'll start looking for people who want to do that. You don't have to like the books. We can also just be critical and whatnot. But I'm willing to listen to each and every one who has any opinions on the Wheel of Time. And I'll just say this here once again. It's like, yeah, please let me know. I'd love to talk to more people about this and make sure that I can kind of put my thoughts into like a larger frame of reference and stuff. So that's that part of like how I want to structure this. Now, let's look at the last thing, the most important thing before we start. Criticism. All right. From what I've said before, today, and in previous occasions, you kind of might have gotten the idea that I am not a huge fan of the Wheel of Time. So far, I'm not. I don't think it likely for me to change my opinions, at least on Eye of the World. I've heard, and I hope, things will get more interesting after that, but for at least Eye of the World, I assume I will have some major criticisms, or peeves. Let's not call them criticisms, because I'm not a qualified critic. Those will be in those videos. And I am very much happy for each and every one of you watching to disagree with me about this in the comments, to tell me why I'm an idiot. I'm fine with that. Please do so. What I want to make clear right now again is that if I go and have very harsh criticism, I'll try to keep it as rational as possible and put all my arguments on the table. If I have harsh criticisms, I may sometimes shoot over the mark. That's how I am, because I tend to be very passionate about stuff. I am a very passionate person. If that's the case, no matter what, please understand that if I go and insult something and rage about something in any of those books, and this goes for anything else, I just feel it's important to say this with Wheel of Time because, it's a big thing. If you particularly love that specific thing I get upset about, if you really love those books, despite their flaws, and there will be flaws because every book is flawed, except Winnie the Pooh, but we already covered that. That does not mean that because we disagree or appreciate different aspects of those books. And there will be stuff that I'll appreciate about Wheel of Time, don't get me wrong. I very much appreciate you as a person. Just because you like something that I've just trashed doesn't mean that I think you as a person are trash. You as a person are valid, your opinions and your tastes are valid. With a very few exceptions, right? You go and love, I don't know, racist stuff, that kind of shit. We might have a disagreement, but if it's just like how something is written, if something seems to be a ripoff or whatever, that's my personal grumpy tastes, and they don't reflect on you as a person. I am very happy for each and every one of you if you watch this, even if you disagree. I very much appreciate this because I want to, and I very much appreciate you because I want to argue. I want to discuss these things. I don't want to just have people agree with me, and I don't want to go out and hate you people or insult you people as people. No, I want to argue with you. I want to be convinced that I'm wrong. That's what I want. And I just want to make it very, very clear once again. This is never, and this will never be about telling you that you are not valid or cool or whatever because we disagree on a specific part of a specific book. That's not what this is about. So please be very brave. Please feel free, feel safe to argue with me. And if you feel that you need to tell me something and you don't want to do this in the open of the comments because, there might be other people jumping in, and I know there's been arguments and shit on especially something as popular and where people are as passionate as they are with the Wheel of Time. If you feel like you really need to tell me something and you don't want to do it there, drop me a message. I'll read them. I'll answer them. And I'll be as polite and as cordial as I can humanly be, which is actually more than you might think. So don't worry about that. Feel free to do that. And yeah, let's go and read some Wheel of Time and have a great 2022. Cheers.